Well, recovery efforts will resume this morning in Washington, D.C. at the Potomac after an American Airlines CRJ plane collided midair with an Army Black Hawk helicopter. All passengers on both aircraft are presumed dead, a total of 67 people. We've learned the helicopter was flying higher than its normal altitude as the plane came in on final approach at Reagan National Airport Wednesday night. Joining us now is Titus Sanders, a commercial airline pilot and retired Chief Warrant Officer for U.S. Army Aviator. Mr. Sanders, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you, Chris.
Let's talk about some of the unique challenges here that are posed not only by Reagan National, the fact that you've got commercial airlines, you've got military aircraft that are in a very highly concentrated area. What are these military pilots up against?
The military pilots are restricted to flying DC helicopter routes, which have altitude restrictions and have also lateral navigation restrictions. As you previously stated, they need to be at or below 200 feet while they're transitioning those corridors, especially going from Route 1 to Route 4 as they're transitioning south around Reagan National Airport. So there's a lot of congestion, also a lot of radio traffic that those pilots are dealing with while they're navigating and transitioning through the area while they're conducting training or actual missions.
We're hearing so many things now, the latest developments that CBS News is confirming, that the plane was asked to switch runways on final approach at the last moment, originally supposed to go to runway 1, but then switching to runway 33. You've got the chopper pilot supposed to be at 200, like we mentioned, was at 400 feet, and also that the air traffic controller that was, I guess, in charge of this plane and chopper, there was just one air traffic controller in charge of both helicopters and some of the passenger jets at that time. Not the only air traffic controller in the ATC booth, but only one handling both. When you're hearing all this, what comes to mind? What thoughts do you have as a former pilot?
When operating around Reagan Airport, a lot of pilots do not like to switch runways at the last minute, going from runway 33 to runway 1. So that's one challenge. Another challenge is different radio frequencies that the helicopters are talking on, but not always communicating on the same frequencies as the fixed wing traffic. And that can cause a little bit of problems for the rotary wing operators in that area. So, and on top of that, it's nighttime. So one of the threats for the Black Hawk crews is you're normally operating under night vision goggles, but as you get closer to Reagan and there's more ambient light, you may not want to have your night vision goggles down. So now you're bringing your night vision goggles up so you can see a little bit better, but that still poses a risk while operating in that area. So a lot of factors that contribute to what may have happened. And at the end of the day, the NTSB gets to investigate and provide us more clarity at the conclusion of their findings.
Mr. Sanders, the Secretary of Defense yesterday said that the Black Hawk helicopter was on a continuity of government mission. Can you explain what that is?
So the aircraft stationed at Davison Army Airfield has several different missions that they operate, and the continuity of government is just to ensure that the defense officials in the area are able to receive transportation in and out of D.C. To sum it up. So that's what the mission is transporting the members of the Department of Defense and the Department of Army in and out of the national capital region.
During the press conference yesterday in the White House press briefing room, President Trump stating that this crash could have been preventable, despite not having obviously the full picture of how the whole incident unfolded, was saying things to the effect of, well, why didn't the helicopter go up or down or sideways, or why didn't the plane take evasive action? I know under being a pilot, when you're traveling that fast and it's that dark, it's not as easy as just seeing a car on the road and making a right turn or a left turn. What type of things are officials looking for to see how this could have been avoided?
One of the things they're going to look for is when they recover the black box, and they have, is what was going on inside the flight deck, what was going on inside the cockpit as far as communication between the crews. That's going to be a big determining factor on determining the level of situational awareness that the crews had at the time leading up to the incident. So that will provide a lot of data, along with the videos that we've already seen from the Kennedy Center, and also anybody else who had videos present of the scene of the accident. So all those factors will be analyzed and determined what was the causation of the incident.
I guess some of the things you've probably heard as well, some of the air traffic control communications that we've all, heard that were made public yesterday. You can hear the air traffic controller confirming with the Black Hawk chopper that he does have his eyes on the ERJ, which is the passenger jet. Is there the possibility, especially when you're doing a nighttime mission, you've got all this air traffic in the area, that he potentially had his eyes on a different ERJ? You saw in the video that we showed there is another plane that had just taken off.
Absolutely. So it could have been another aircraft. It could also have been other lights from around the city that they may have mistaken for another aircraft. So we won't know until we get that data from the NTSB, but those are all distinct possibilities.
Well, so then that brings me to the broader question here. It's having all the information. These investigations take time. I know everybody wants to know right away who's to blame, and that was prevalent yesterday, again, with the president in the press briefing room yesterday. You're on the board of directors for the Organization of Black Aerospace Professionals, and yesterday the president, moments after saying let's have a moment of silence for those deceased, made a quick pivot and seemed to place the blame on a DEI hiring for this crash yesterday. Your thoughts when you hear that, and the response in the community, in the aerospace community, in the pilot and air traffic community when you hear something like this?
So from OBEF's perspective, we reject any narrative that suggests value and diverse perspectives when it comes to hiring. So safety is the paramount to anything, and every single person that's hired has to go through the same rigorous training and evaluation and continuous evaluation in order to maintain their employment. So while DEI hiring practices may be a thing, when it comes to the actual individual who has to be hired and be employed, every single one of us meet the requirements from the FAA and other agencies to perform those duties, and safety is never compromised in order to make that happen.
Mr. Sanders, thank you very much for joining us. We are up against a hard wall here, so we have to say goodbye, but thank you for taking the time.